welcome. I'm Julia Manchester, national political reporter at The Hill. Thank you so much for joining us for our program today, Powerful Women Over 50, a program celebrating women 50 and up who are multi-hyphenates, politicians, mothers, entrepreneurs, teachers, and leaders who have broken barriers, shattered stereotypes, and each paved the way in their respective fields. Best of all, many women are still just getting started achieving their greatest success and impact well after that 50th milestone. To the recent naysayers who questioned whether women were past their prime at 50, these powerhouse women say a resounding no. We have an all-star lineup today, but before we get underway, just a reminder that you can join the conversation on social media at The Hill Events using the hashtag #TheHillWomen. Now let's kick off our important discussion on how women over 50 are redefining what's possible. My first guest is producer, TV host, and best-selling author Melissa Rivers. I spoke to her just a short while ago. Take a listen. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today. Jumping right in, you host a podcast, Melissa Rivers Group Text. What inspired you to start this, and what do you hope people will get from it?
What inspired me to start this? My friends. You know, I have a bunch of different friend groups, and everybody, on our group text talks about different things. And I think that's how it started, was we all have such different views on different things and different topics that hit different groups of our friends. And the one thing they all have in common is they're funny. And it sort of morphed from being topic driven. And then during the pandemic, I was like, oh God, my brain's tired. Everybody else's brains must be tired too. And it really took a turn to be light. And celebrity interviews and, health experts and this expert. And I'm very fortunate that I have spent my life interviewing and being interviewed. So I think it creates a very comfortable dynamic for celebrities. I've known so many people for so long, from the red carpet and all this, that there's an ease and a casualness to the conversations. And because I'm not scared to admit my stuff, I'll be the first one to say, oh my God, this was the most humiliating moment for me. What was your worst, what was your most embarrassing moment? And I think because I put myself out there first, people feel comfortable doing it. And again, it's funny. It's light. It's fun. It's what you would hope the person sitting next to you at a dinner party would be like.
So speaking of funny, your mother, Joan Rivers, was considered a pioneer of women in comedy. How did that trailblazing inspire you, and how do you carry on her legacy?
I think it's really how I look at life. We always look through a funny lens. We have, in our family, we had real gallows humor. And my mom used to say, if you can make someone laugh, you're giving them a mini vacation. And who wants to not give someone a mini vacation? You walk away from something, and you can't hate anyone that you laugh with. You can dislike them, you can disagree with them, but you can't hate them. And I think today that is so important. If you can laugh with someone, you can't hate them.
Same line of thought. You've written 3 books published about your relationship with your mother. What inspired you to share those stories, and what do you hope people will ultimately get from them?
A sense of the closeness, a sense of the fun, especially my last book, Lies My Mother Told Me, which is completely silly and taking some real life events and then multiplying them by 1,000. They're so over the top, and just really having fun with the silliness. And that became, Lies My Mother Told Me started during COVID, and it became a thing with my writing partner and I. We would get on Zoom and just laugh, and it it saved us both. I would look forward to our writing sessions. He would look forward to our writing sessions a couple times a week. And for both of us, it became such a pivotal part of our quarantine. That was both of our happy places. And finding out that my son could do laundry. That was a good moment too. Didn't know he had that skill.
Well, there you go. I know a lot of mothers are happy to find that out. You and your mom have been credited with revolutionizing the red carpet. What is your advice to women who want to follow in those footsteps?
Geez, in being on the red carpet?
And being a woman who's a public figure in fashion, any of those arenas, or who want to be in journalism and reporting.
Okay. Yeah, now I know what you mean. As much as, again, this is all in hindsight. Don't be afraid to fail. Which when you're in the moment is the most terrifying thing. And I have to remind myself of that every single day. I think it has, and also, which my mom always said too, is go through any door that opens. It might not be where you want to be going, but go through it. And that's how I ended up on the red carpet. I had, I just shot a pilot for my own TV show, and I had this going and that going. And my mom had already done one, and they came to her and said, would I be interested? And we must have been having a tough day. And apparently she said, I don't know, ask her yourself, because if I ask her, she'll just say no, which is such a mom-daughter moment. And I was like, yeah, okay, I might as well try it. The pilot I had shot didn't get picked up, and I was like, well, fine. And again, it was a door that opened that I never had any inkling that I would walk through. And I did. And I'm glad I did. Who knew? Who knew at the time that this little germ of an idea would turn into destination viewing?
Pivoting a little bit to what you just said, you've touched on this several times in your answers. You've been a mental health advocate for many years. How does this particular issue affect women over 50? And what advice do you have for that specific subset of our population?
Gosh, mental health in women over 50. We have to get away from the idea that we are not allowed to fail. Most women over 50 have something in their lives that they're not happy with, or a decision they made, or not being able to get out of a cycle, whether it be bad relationships or not happy at work. And I think a lot of us, especially who are parents, feel this pressure to be the pillar and the pillar of the family, without even realizing it. And I think, we have to give ourselves permission to be weak. And that's been a big struggle for me. And it was for my mom and my dad. None of us could admit we were ever weak. And that is something I have struggled with my whole life. I still feel like I need to apologize when I feel like I can't do something. And you have to learn to be that it's okay. It's okay to say, I'm having a hard time with this. And I think for women over 50, that's the hardest thing to do, because we come from a generation, and, like myself, we're all Gen Xers, where, especially now, we're so busy proving that we're different than millennials and Gen Z, and we're so much stronger. And this, we have to allow ourselves to be like, okay, I'm not as strong as I seem, and not be afraid to be judged by that. I mean, I can just speak for myself that that's a big thing for me.
Sure, and you've got a lot on your plate right now. You've got a movie in development, 2 TV shows, you're working on your next book. How do you do it all, and what is your advice for women who are wanting to do it all like you?
It's interesting, because that's one of the things I always hear on my podcast when I read somebody's introduction, woman or man. We're always shocked by our resumes. because I'll sit here and say, I've not accomplished anything. I have not accomplished enough. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I was just interviewing someone the other day, and I read, in the introduction of my podcast, and I read like, they've done this, 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 this. And the person said, well, you make me sound really successful. And I think we all lose sight of that. And I'm the first one to admit, I fight every day feeling judged or that I'm not good enough or any of those things. I hope I get better at that, but I think to say, how do I get through it? I just put my head down and keep going. I think that's the best thing. I always feel like motion creates motion, and being stagnant is the worst possible thing you can do for your mental health, for your physical health, even if it's get out and take a walk.
Right.
You never want to be stagnant. And that's what I make myself do, is not be stagnant in any way, shape, or form. And also allow yourself to have the day when you don't have to do anything. Like I always say, I'm a big, and I say it to my son, and he's the same way. Busy is good, but I'm one of those people who I have to have a plan to do nothing. Like I have to say, okay, today I'm doing nothing because that's my plan. And so it's, however, I would say you have to learn how to play mental hopscotch with yourself.
And I think a lot of people are that way. So that's very good advice, to schedule in some time for yourself as well. What continues to inspire you as things go on post-COVID and as you continue on with your career?
People always say, what inspires you? And I always default to surviving till tomorrow. What inspires me is, people always say, are you going to retire? I'm like, and do what? I think natural curiosity inspires me. I think, again, I'm so fortunate to be able to make a living doing what I love and in my chosen profession. I think that inspires me, is every day going, God, I'm so lucky that someone pays me to do what I do. And I find a lot of inspiration in that. I find a lot of inspiration in my son and seeing him travel through life, and continuously trying to set a good example for him. I don't want to retire. I can't fathom that. So for me, it's always what's next and what's interesting, whether it be a new book idea that's completely out of the box, or developing a TV show that is not at all based in comedy, which is one of the things I'm doing right now. It's very a historical perspective. And I would say exercising the parts of my brain that I don't use every day.
Yeah, and going off of that and talking about your son, you've said that for mothers of young men, it's important to help raise good men. It's quote unquote, it's our responsibility to raise good men. Could you elaborate a little more on that and give some advice to other mothers of young men?
There's been this whole generation, and it's my son's generation, and probably even the ones a little bit younger, have all been about empowering your daughters. Well, we need to make sure that we, as a boy mom, raise men that embrace that. And it's our responsibility to create good men who respect women and do not see a difference between what a man can do and what a woman can do. I got very lucky with my son, especially being a single parent. He was raised by two very strong women. So to him, that's normal. Being around ambitious, strong women is normal to him. It's not scary. It's not intimidating. It's embraced because that's his comfort zone. And I think as a boy mom, it's our responsibility to make this next generation of men really look for that in women and accept it, and a total lack of fear of it, and see that as an attribute in women. And being with someone and choosing to be someone's equal because they want to be, because that's what's interesting to them. And it squarely falls on the responsibility of the parent and especially of the mother of boys.
Well, Melissa Rivers, award-winning host, executive producer, author, you name it, she's done it. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.